I think the biggest challenge facing British democracy is that people don't really care about party politics. They don't feel empowered by party politics, they don't feel part of it, they're cynical about it. And although I reckon that could carry on regardless, as long as house prices are going up, as long as the economy is staying pretty good, if things start to collapse, or if something else happens, a war or an oil shortage or whatever, something that we can't predict, I think it's quite possible that politics as we know it could completely implode and something else could take its place. What it will be, who knows, but we've seen it happen in other countries. I think there is a chance that the political party as we know it has had its day, but I think for those people who are in political parties, what's very important at a time like this is to keep ahead of the game. If people do suddenly become dissatisfied, we want to make sure that there are new structures that we can offer, or that we can radicalise the old structures sufficiently to be able to keep people on side, to keep them feeling confident about whatever we might propose in the future. And I think at the moment, professional politicians are really failing to do that. So what I want to see is people who are professional politicians saying it's us that needs to rethink our attitude towards politics in this country, not blame it on other people, not start talking about apathy or the power of the trade unions or whatever it is, some stupid excuse. Change your ways, think about who you are, have a bit of humility. If we're realistic, we've got to accept that right now it's unlikely that a lot of people are going to be really galvanised by the minutiae of party politics. But nevertheless, what about in your own constituency, your own town, your own village? There are things that always need to be changed. There are things that aren't right. If we had structures within local communities which encourage people not only to debate those kind of issues, but also have a say in what the decisions were, then I think people would keep being engaged in politics. Maybe not with parliamentary politics all the time, but then would understand sufficient about party politics to get engaged when that was important. I do think we ought to look abroad. I do think we ought to look at other models. Look abroad at things like citizens' assemblies, people's courts, where people actually sit down together and try and thrash things out. And what you find, almost without exception, is for the first half a day, everybody unloads their baggage. They all know what they think when they get there, they shout the odds and they say what ought to happen. But then this strange thing occurs after about half a day. They start listening to other people. They start realising that actually their own position isn't the only one. There are alternative positions which actually have value, and although they might not necessarily let go of their deep-held position, actually they'll alter it, they'll temper it slightly to try and include what other people think. And I think that's a great model. If I was the political fairy, I would wave my wand at all the professional politicians up at Westminster and say to them, look, you've been talking about political change for the last 10 or 20 years. It's actually you who've got to change. You've got to start listening properly. You've got to start listening to the people in your parties. You've got to start listening to the people who you at the moment pretend to consult. None of that anymore. You are the servants of the people who vote for you. Have humility. Listen, learn, and then change your politics and your policies. That, to me, is the big issue.